Hello everyone and welcome to another video. With the recent success of my previous lore videos about doors, a little of my faith has been restored with the game's community. Apparently, it turns out that a large portion of you guys enjoy hearing some dude yap about the lore of a Roblox game, so I might as well give in to that and feed you even more lore. Today, I want to stray away from all the narratives revolving around Grumble and Seek, as I'd already made 2 videos about that. I actually want to focus on another entity introduced in the Floor 2 update, one which is generally overlooked by much of the community, that of course being the Gloombats. Now, on the surface, these guys just appear to be annoying little bugs. However, in reality, they're actually much more complex. So in this video, I'll be analyzing the lore of the Gloombats in Roblox Store's Floor 2. So with all of that being said, let's begin. Alrighty, so let's start by going over some of the base level stuff about Gloombats. Gloombats are entities found exclusively in Floor 2, aka the mines, and despite having the word bat in their name, they are more closely related to bugs. More specifically, moths. In fact, before this entity was formally introduced to the game, it was known as the bat moth, which I personally see as a much more fitting name. Anyways, much like with most bugs, these entities are found in swarms, so you will never encounter just a single one all alone. Now, something very interesting about Gloombats is that they are one of the only neutral entities in the game. And what I mean by that is they won't normally attack you unless aggravated. And as many of you know, light is what makes these bugs angry. If you use any light source near the Gloombats, they'll start rapidly attacking you until you stop emitting light. They will also break any other environmental light sources, such as thrown glow sticks or lights on the ceiling. Overall, they are a relatively easy entity to combat, but just because they aren't a pain to deal with doesn't mean they can't be rich with lore. You see, although many other entities have lore which affects the entire story of the game, the lore of Gloombats mainly just affects themselves. Think of this video kinda like a documentary explaining the biology of this entity. So, with that little message out of the way, let's first discuss the appearance of Gloombats. As you might have been able to guess based on their name paired up with the description I gave just a moment ago, Gloombats resemble a mix of a bat and a moth. They are small like moths and have wings like them too. However, they also have snouts and teeth similar to that of the bat. They also have 2 yellow glowing eyes. And although most people are familiar with this entity having yellow eyes, as I just stated, they can actually have a large variety of different eye colors. Still, the eye color of Gloombats is merely visual, and it doesn't affect the functionality of the entity at all. Still, yellow eyes are the most common, so seeing a Gloombat with different colored eyes can be quite the spectacle. However, if finding all the different variants of Gloombat eye colors is your goal, then fear not, as there is actually a way to predict where and when a certain Gloombat variety will spawn. And fortunately, it ties into our next topic of this video, that being their children. You see, much like other species on this planet, Gloombats are able to have children, and what's interesting is that they actually hatch from eggs. Whenever you encounter a swarm of Gloombats in the mines, you are bound to find their eggs on the floor. Many of these eggs will be too underdeveloped to do anything, however, sometimes you can find large translucent ones with a Gloombat living inside of it. Stepping on these eggs will cause the Gloombat inside of them to hatch, which will result in you taking a little damage and them flying around the room. However, at least based on my research, it appears that the color of the egg actually determines the color of the eyes of the Gloombat which hatches out of it. What I mean by that is if you step on an orange egg, then an orange-eyed Gloombat will hatch out of it. Currently, I've found 7 different egg colors, those being yellow, green, orange, blue, pink, purple, and white, meaning those are the 7 eye colors Gloombats can have. I've also heard that they can also have red eyes, but I've never seen that yet. In fact, if you guys have seen any other colors, let me know in the comments. Anyways, something odd I noticed about these eggs is how it appears Gloombats fully develop inside of them. Typically with most bugs, their eggs hatch when the bug inside is in its larval stage. Then the larvae will begin to pupate and then it will eventually become a normal bug. However, as we have seen in doors, as soon as we step on the Gloombat egg, it will hatch into a fully adult Gloombat, which implies all of its development occurred in the egg, which is pretty fascinating. Furthermore, going off this same theory, I assume that the Gloombat larvae are located in the smaller, more underdeveloped eggs. However, we don't really know what this larvae looks like, as these small eggs cannot be opened. Now, with that out of the way, something I want to touch up on next is how Gloombats absolutely despise light. As I had stated before, the main way to aggravate this entity is by using a light source, and even if you don't use them, they will still try to break any environmental light sources. Now, although it isn't explicitly stated why this entity hates light, I've come up with two theories as to why. My first theory, which I believe is the unlikelier of the two, is that maybe Gloombats have a hypersensitivity to light. Essentially, what that means is maybe this entity is physically discomforted in the presence of light, which is why they would do anything to get rid of it. However, I don't think this is the case, as the eyes of a Gloombat quite literally are glowing, so it wouldn't make sense if they were physically discomforted by light if light was a part of their body. My second theory, which I believe is more likely, is that Gloombats break lights in order to protect their eggs. Many species have eggs which thrive best in the dark, warm environments, like a cave, so the presence of light would work against the development of the Gloombats inside of those eggs, and therefore would have to be eliminated. This may also explain why Gloombats will lay their eggs inside of dead bodies, as they are warm and dark too, like a cave. Now, throughout this video, I've been talking solely about Gloombats. After all, they are the main topic, however, how are they related to other entities? Well, it turns out these bugs are actually part of a food chain, believe it or not. You see, based on the Doors wiki, if a Gloombat comes into contact with Figure, he will just eat it. This means that Figure is a natural predator of the Gloombats, which is pretty fascinating. Additionally, based on one of El Goblino's dialogue lines, apparently fighting Gloombats is extremely challenging for him, as he compares it to, quote, hunting a bear, unquote. This means that El Goblino also hunts this entity for food, albeit it is very difficult for him. Lastly, in terms of what Gloombats eat, I'm not really sure. We have never seen a Gloombat eat anything in-game, but using context clues in the mines, we can figure it out, to a certain degree. You see, most bugs tend to eat a wide variety of food, including plants and dead animals. So, I don't think it would be too out of the ordinary if we assume that a Gloombat's diet consists mainly of the plants found in the garden areas of the mines, as that is really the only place where vegetation appears in Floor 2. Furthermore, given how Gloombats have no problem laying eggs in dead bodies, they probably eat those too, similar to other types of flies. So, to summarize, the predators of Gloombats are Figure and El Goblino, whereas their diet is theorized to mostly consist of plants found in garden rooms, as well as dead bodies if they ever do come across them. Anyways, that was essentially everything about the lore of Gloombats in Roblox stores. Sure, they aren't as interesting as Grumbles or Seek, but they are still animals, and it doesn't hurt to learn more about their behaviors and characteristics. Let me know in the comments if you found the lore of Gloombats interesting. And with all of that being said, thank you all for watching and I hope you enjoyed. Actually, I lied. There's one more thing I want to say. You see, I noticed a lot of you guys enjoy watching lore videos about doors, and luckily for you, I've made several of these videos. So if you're interested in checking out more Doors lore related content, then head over to my playlists section on my channel, and there you'll find all of my lore videos compiled into one place. Anyways, for real this time, thank you all for watching and I hope you enjoyed.